If you can master the art of that, communicating your ideas succinctly and clearly in a way that conveys your enthusiasm and your passion for what you do, and you continue to share that with as many people as possible, it's quite incredible how quickly that energy that you've put out into the universe will come back to you through the resources that other people might be sharing.
You're listening to the Transcendent Farmer podcast with your host, Emily Reno, a place where we dive deep into the question of accessing land and capital to start a farm. You see, I'm right alongside my listeners, working to start a farm of my own within the next 5 years, and at the same time, I've had a huge travel bug since I was in community college. Back in November of 2023, I sold all of my belongings and became a digital nomad, working as a remote consultant in food systems planning with clients mostly in the upper Midwest and the United States, and I took my mic with me as I traveled everywhere from India to Australia to Costa Rica, digging into stories around mental health and well-being, personal growth, holistic business development, and more. You see, my hunch is that while folks are looking at technical solutions to help the next generation access land and capital to start their farm, such as tax incentives and land access databases, the change that we're seeking has a lot more to do with the non-material. And in my own experiences, my life changed when I started doing the inner work to shift my thoughts, and therefore, my reality. That's why in this podcast, we dive deep into topics like manifestation, energy, and spirit. There's no topic that's off the table, and I'm so excited for you to join me in this journey as I continue to travel, follow my curiosity, and explore the parts of farming that are a bit more taboo and tender. This episode of the Transcendent Farmer podcast is sponsored by Compeer Financial, a member-owned farm credit cooperative providing financial products and services to support agriculture and rural communities in Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Compeer Financial is the third largest cooperative in the farm credit system. Based in the upper Midwest with $31.9 billion in total assets, they take a forward-thinking approach to provide innovative, customized financial solutions and expertise to meet the unique needs and dreams of those they serve. Contact Sai Tao, Senior Lending Specialist, at 612-597-4086 or by email at sai.tao, that's sai.thao, at compeer.com. Compeer Financial is an equal opportunity employer and provider and an equal credit opportunity lender.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Transcendent Farmer podcast. We have made it through almost the end of the first month of 2025, and I don't know about you, but it seems like time is just flying by. I have a ton of great interview content in the queue, and in fact, just this morning, had a lovely interview with another guest. I'll be sharing that in the coming months, but I wanted to mix things up a bit and do another kind of more solo episode. This time around, I'm going to provide a few updates just in terms of what's happening on my end, what am I building right now, the travel front, and then today's episode is really an invitation for self-reflection. So I'm going to be sharing some insights from a lot of one-on-ones that I've had, podcast episodes that I've listened to, just thinking about kind of what are some of the characteristics of people that attract success. And I'm not going to say naturally attract success because I don't think that that's true. I think that there's effort that is put into it. But I think that when I reflect on where I'm at in my business and in life and being in a place where I'm trying to establish a new home for myself, sometimes coming back to the basics and being reminded of these maybe more universal principles can be the most helpful thing. With that, I want to share something that I'm working on building right now that is a bit of maybe an iteration of something that I've shared in the past, which was originally called AI Think Tank. And the idea behind this was that I would get together people who are essentially interested in playing around with these different AI tools that are out there and building community around our shared learning experience. After chatting with others and getting a little bit more feedback around this concept, and again, listening to more information out there about what the market is looking like and how it's evolving, what I would like to do is sort of rebrand it as software school in general. And while that title may not stay the same, the concept would essentially expand beyond just AI tools to also include other types of just online software that helps people streamline their workflows, maybe project management software. If you are a person that is working a lot in digital space and you want to be able to have information about resources that are available to help you streamline your work, save you hours and hours of time on projects and maybe tasks that are quite repetitive, that's really what I want this space to be about. And I think that it's important to create community around this because I love to learn from others. I think that it's important that, as you are dabbling and experimenting things, I would challenge you to bring what you're learning to that space so that we can learn from you as well and just have it be a really sharing and supportive space. No judgment. I think that this question of ethics is going to be a big part of our conversation as we look at different AI tools that are out there. But again, like I mentioned, it wouldn't just necessarily be focused on that, but also just have this wider lens of software. The other thing that I'm still working on is kind of fleshing out this Latinas in Ag network. We haven't quite narrowed down the name, but my good friend and colleague Alondra Cano, based out in Amory, Wisconsin, with Hungry Turtle Farm and many other affiliations, is working with me to kind of explore what would this look like in a best case scenario, what kind of maybe legal structure would need to support it, and what kinds of sponsors would be the best fit for it. The Farmer Wellness Summit is also still in the queue. If you're interested in supporting farmers in the wellness space and you're really passionate about mental health and well-being, and especially alternative wellness kind of modalities, and you think that you have access to a network, or maybe you're just curious to learn more about those things, serving on our volunteer planning committee will be a great way to do that. So I highly recommend it. And then the other update is that since publishing my last episode, I managed to get an appointment at the Mexican consulate in Minnesota and had my application approved for temporary residence. This is essentially the equivalent of what a digital nomad visa would be. And while it's not called that, you essentially have to do the same thing in terms of proving that you have your financial independence and that it's coming from a source of income that's outside of Mexico. So I passed the test with flying colors and even figured out how I can basically claim my own Mexican nationality through my dad in basically bringing in certified copies of our birth certificates, which is insane. So I'm really excited about that. And that means that by the time this is published, I will be that much closer to building a new home abroad. And while this has been somewhat of a tumultuous journey in some regards over the last several years of doing a lot of international travel and exploring the world, trying to figure out, where is my place in it and where do I want to make my home, I'm so grateful for all the experiences and the people that I've met along the way, the ways that they have challenged my notion of what it means to be happy and to be fulfilled by your work and by life. And I just remain resolved that life outside of the US is totally for me. And I'm very committed to making that my reality. So here I am, just a few days away from flying out. I still have about 2 suitcases worth of belongings. So I've managed that for the most part over this entire last, 14 months, I would say, since I packed my bags back in 2023. Honestly, I think that this has been an amazing chapter in my life, and I'm really excited for what's to come. I know that studying herbal medicine in Mexico and understanding more about my own roots and tradition and culture has been a big motivator and driver of my travels and explorations, and I'm really excited to ground more in that this coming year and have a place that I call my own. So if you find yourself in León, Mexico, at all within the next 12 months at least, please reach out. I would love to connect with you. I love connecting with other people in the network and fellow farmers, and I'm always eager to explore sustainable agriculture operations wherever I'm going to. So please send me your recommendations. I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to one of the Transcendent Farmer podcast's newest sponsors, the Fargo-Moorhead Wellness Collective. The FM Wellness Collective is a community of wellness practitioners in the Fargo-Moorhead area dedicated to supporting and empowering one another. They serve as a reliable resource for the community to connect with wellness professionals, making wellness more accessible and strengthening the culture of well-being in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Learn more by visiting the links in the show notes or finding the collective on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I want to explain how I hope that today's episode can be an invitation for you as self-reflection. I'd like to encourage you to do the following as you listen to some of the characteristics that I'm going to share with you. So the first thing would be asking yourself if you see or hear yourself in any of the characteristics that I list. The second thing would be asking yourself, if not, why? And is this even something that I want to identify with? The third piece would be, if you're striving for this, what's currently standing in the way? Number 4, what do you have control over that you could remove or unblock those barriers? And then lastly, does stepping into this require a thought process or behavioral pattern that you don't currently embody? The reason that I have this list sort of as preparation for you is that a lot of times what I try to do in my own personal life and what has led to so many of the successes that I've had, I think, in just building big, having amazing clients that I work with, being able to travel the world and navigate some of these unknowns on a pretty regular basis and lots of uncertainty, which I think is very much the norm for people that work in the agricultural space, is that I oftentimes will try to visualize what's happening from the perspective of the version of myself that doesn't yet exist. And then thinking from that perspective, okay, how would this version of me respond to XYZ, whatever that is? And that more often than not will get me into a different kind of headspace that's more creative, that's more playful, that's more fun. Probably that is a little bit less risk averse, and that really just trusts myself and trusts the process and trusts in the universe that what I'm looking for, what I want to create, it's already here and it's already on its way. And sometimes the difference is just that one decision that you make that can put you in a place that's completely different and closer to where you want to be. So when I was thinking about preparing for today, what I wanted to share with you were some of these insights that I've collected over time. And a lot of this, again, is inspired by a book that I just finished reading called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill that was published in 1960. And a lot of the basic characteristics and just recommendations from that book are pretty universal principles that I also see applied and continue to talk about in the space of personal growth and development and manifestation. I put together my own list, and some of that draws from things on the book, but most of it is just the kinds of things that come out of the woodwork over the time of like doing a bunch of interviews with people and just observing people's behavior and what are the themes that I see, what are the characteristics that are pretty common in all of these people who, in my eyes, have been successful in life. And I think that this is a really important piece that I want to emphasize is everyone has their own definition of what success looks like. And you having your own definition of success, that may not be very easy for you to define. So that might be a good place for you to start. But for me, there are 8 characteristics that I wanted to cover. The first one, these people are passionate about what they do. They're excited and energized. This is something that is like, their energy is just infectious, right? And you are drawn in and pulled into their energy by the excitement that they have for what they do. Number 2, they are self-motivated. They don't wait for others to make decisions and move ahead in whatever that is, whether it's in a micro moment of something related to business or maybe their personal health or over the longer term. They're just always trying to create momentum to push things forward. and they don't get caught up so much in the details. Or they've at least figured out ways to get other people to handle the details so that they can keep moving things forward. Number 3, they aren't afraid of sweat equity, aka putting in the work, right? These are people that are willing to scrub the toilets, of the offices that they work in, just alongside the housekeepers or whoever else maybe their maintenance staff is. That there's no sense that they are above others and that there's a deep sense of humility. I think that this is really key. And being able to put in the work is critical so that you have that sense of skin in the game. Number 4, find ways or other people to keep themselves organized and to some degree focused. This is critical, right? Having systems, or again, you could hire others to keep stuff in order, some sense of order. There are some people who thrive off of chaos, and that's just their MO. But I found that there's other people that they make sure that the information that they have, maybe their finances, whatever the milestones are that they're trying to reach, that stuff is organized, or someone else is creating the structure to keep it organized because they recognize that they themselves don't do a very good job of that. Number 5, they provide a ton of value to others, directly, indirectly, maybe through products, services, information. When you are able to provide value to others, you naturally draw them into what you're doing because they feel that it's useful, right? You're serving a function of some kind. And again, that could be direct, that could be indirect. It could just be that the way you show up in the world is enough to provide value to others. Maybe it's a simple comment that you have as part of a conversation with your professional colleagues. Maybe it's a piece of advice of how someone else can save time in doing XYZ, whatever that looks like. But value is critical. Number 6, these people are generally likable and their personality is appealing. I think this is pretty natural, but I think it was important to mention as well, is that generally we aren't attracted to people that have just really gross personalities. They're just really rude, they're disrespectful. Maybe they're just like really sour in the face, like they just look unhappy all the time, like really negative energy. I generally find that I'm drawn to people that are smiling, they're happy, they're joyful, they like to laugh and joke around a lot, that they don't take things too seriously. I'm also really drawn to people that are intellectually curious, that have this ability to see the bigger picture, to have conversations around topics that aren't chit chat and surface level.
This episode of the Transcendent Farmer podcast is sponsored by Massage Alchemy Botanicals and Turkey Road Farm Products based in Castleton, North Dakota, and owned by Shannon Radcliffe Beach. Shannon is an organic farmer, herbalist, massage therapist, and earth mother. Her mission is to promote health and wellness by connecting people with the healing power of plants. To achieve this, Shannon crafts herbal remedies and products made from the herbs and berries she grows on her farm, as well as hosting events and classes that teach practical herbal knowledge and how to live more harmoniously with the cycles of nature. Find out more about their products and services by visiting their website or following them on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube.
The last one, number 7, is getting other people to be invested in your success. This is a really cool one, and I think it has a lot to do with communicating what you are trying to do, your goals, with as many people as possible. If you can master the art of that, communicating your ideas succinctly and clearly in a way that conveys your enthusiasm and your passion for what you do, and you continue to share that with as many people as possible, it's quite incredible how quickly that energy that you've put out into the universe will come back to you through the resources that other people might be sharing. It could also be through connections. So why does this matter as a future farmer or business owner? Sometimes I feel like I get really hard on myself about timelines. I don't feel like I'm making progress towards my goals. Oftentimes we tell ourselves that we are off track or we're behind, right? But no matter where you end up in life, in your agricultural journey, for example, I believe that if you create a solid foundation for yourself, in your mind, in your body, in your finances, in your relationships. All of those things that you're seeking around your farm are somewhat inevitable, and it's only a matter of time before they become real for you. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that it provides a little bit of a nugget of encouragement to keep doing what you're doing, but also take the time to think about if you're not having the results that you want, maybe there is something that you should be reworking, either in how you think about the problem, how you react to maybe some of the challenges that you're facing. And again, tap into that future version of yourself, the one that is more kind, more financially abundant, more respectful, whatever that looks like, more generous, and think about how would they respond in this situation? And can I practice that just once today, tomorrow, next week, next month? Can I practice that and continuously exercise this muscle until it actually becomes who I am, how I embody this version of me?
If you love this conversation as much as we did, feel free to share the love by passing it along to a friend or fellow farmer, and be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. Until next time, friends.